وكفى السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته همين في الجولة دي على كده هذا برنامجك أمور عالمك وركا وين برنامجك وككل واسينكو جود بيان ولبا كمدها ورصحافات يعيدن كإسرائيل ولبا يوك قرنا إن إسرائيل تريديو كورندا فسد السركال والدرجة كابتن يوك عشان لها يسدن لك جدلي وركي إيرانيين تيوك قادن جنتلا هاي وهاين حلي وحريرها تل أبيب برنامجك سينكاينا أسكرتي إسرائيل اللي كديري وير حزب الله حتى كونفرت لبنان ولبا ديرتي تضرب السركال يو أسكر هانا صدق مانتيو عيدا كجاركي كوماندوس كهاين تاسو كدغاس إن مركز أسكرتان عادين هاينا برنامجك يهسين جود بيانا تلفزيون كإسرائيل جنرال تومي لمنا ولبا وسا مركز هكيه داي الجزيرة شاعي إن أسكرتي سدحات وكترسن عيدا كجاركي كوماندوس إسرائيل لنكويرو إيغوس اللي كدلي حتى لبنان برنامجك يا هسينكو جود بيانا قضاء كان نسينهاي ولبا كمدها ولبا درجة جوندية ويو هدرايان وإيرانيين تا إيران ولبا لتها ولان كيرو نصيب صوبي كورنا هايتي إسرائيل ولو نحلي ورده للشوك الجيسني وسيرك أريمها دبدا إيران عباس أراقين ولبا وسا وليار كهر شيء إن مراكن كور جليان كوريد مركي دي ورركي حالي كقادن إسرائيل إنه سنسكدينا فرجلين حتى هديوس سكديو سنة عواقب كل مكر برنامجك يا أسينكو جود بيانا نتنياهو يقول له هوريهاي إنه صدور كهو سيسمي الآ جبات كويجاه وكجرا ركاسي وركا وين وكجرا واحدة مركزيتي أرمها دبدا مريكان كا شرشة جرايدة سينكاينا برنامجك أمور عالمك ورتيلك أرلادي همين فايلة برنامجka muro caalamka la dareertana Israa'iil iyo waliba iyo wajahayta culeyskan ka badanay Kuuriyad markii Iiraan iyo xalay 400 gantaal oo nooca balastiga iyo ka gantii dhulsha waliba Israa'iil markaas iyo wajahay xaalad adag waa xaalad adag ra'iisul wasaaraha Israa'iil Benjamin Netanyahu dhulka hoosesan roori ciidamadii markaas ee gargaarka hayeen ee Mareykanka hadran iyo naftarsho iyo dhulka hoostiyo galan Iiraan waliba iyo markaas qaaday talaabo adag Mareykanka xitaa waliba digday in iyo fargelin soo bida nooca qalabka Iron Dome ee ku horseedo gantaalada iyana ku guul dareysay Israa'iil inuu xakameeyo weerarada iyo saasaadka gantaalada tirada xad dhaafka ee ku kooyan dhulka Israa'iil waa dhulka Iiraan ankiiraan lama qarax iyo ka dhiyan saasaadka sacadoogi hore ee geega meelan ka dheerayna safaaradda Israa'iil ee ka taala magaalada Copenhagen ee caasimadda wadanka Denmark iyadoo la sheegay in booliska iyo wadaan baaritaan la xiriir qaraxyada waranayo markaas ka sheegan warbixinta booliska in jarna wala khasaare nafeed oo dhaliyeen qaraxyadan xaaladda bariga dhexe iyo adagta Israa'iil waliba iyo wali iska dayahayte waa Iiraan waliba iska dayahayte in dalalka adduunka oo dhan in sheegtay in Israa'iil gardaradii iska difaacaysa wasiirka arrimaha dibadda Israa'iil waliba geeg ka dhawaaqay inuu aqoonsadeen xogayaha guud ee qaramada midoobay Antonio Guterres inuu sameeyay qofka lankfadaha Israa'iil taasoo la micnaa inuu kama mamnuuc gudaha Israa'iil inuu soo booqdo kara saasaaduna qof kasto cambaaray weerarkan xalay waa Iiraan in sheegan in qalan in cagta la saaro dhulsha barnaamijka muro caalamka qiibo dambe la dareertan waaxda arrimaha dibadda Mareykanka iyo waliba iyo waxa ka saartay weeraradii la ka jeysay Lubnaan bariga dhexe oo la sida ka jiran Iiraan weerarkii 400 gantaal iyo ka turtii Israa'iil iyo xaaladda adag oo soo wajahay bariga dhexe.
Don't let me interrupt. Okay, before we move to questions, just a couple of brief opening comments. The Secretary and other senior officials in the department and across the government were engaged through the weekend in monitoring and responding to unfolding events in the Middle East. The Secretary spoke yesterday to the French Foreign Minister about ongoing diplomatic efforts to de-escalate tensions in the region. He is speaking to other counterparts today, both in person on the sidelines of the de-ISIS ministerial that's happening in our building, as well as by phone. And we'll have readouts of those conversations as the day goes on. I want to make a few points clear. Number one, we support Israel's right to defend itself against terrorism. That includes by bringing brutal terrorists such as Hassan Nasrallah to justice. At the same time, we ultimately want to see a diplomatic resolution to conflict in the Middle East that provides long-term security for the people of Israel, the people of Lebanon, and the Palestinian people, as well as the broader region, and we will continue to work to advance efforts along those fronts. With that, Matt.
Right. Okay. Well, just first, can you give us an idea of who he plans to talk to?
He was on the phone when I walked down here with the UK foreign minister.
Sorry.
He was on the phone with the UK foreign minister. We'll have a readout of that later today, as well as others. I don't have a full list, but he's doing some of our conversations on the margins of the ministerial today, and then others will be phone calls.
But those go beyond what was on the schedule, which was like Kuwait and.
The ones that are on the public schedule, and then I wouldn't foreclose others that are just opportunistic as he sees people here in the building.
Okay. Is he going to be speaking with any Israeli officials?
He has been speaking with Israeli officials dating back to last week, and will continue to. Some of those conversations we read out, some we do not.
So he has had. Is it accurate to say that he has had conversations today with Israeli officials?
I don't know that he has had any yet today, but he will continue to engage with Israeli
officials. And then so what is your understanding of what Israel is planning to do or not to do?
So I will let. I'm going to assume you're referring to the reports.
Tell me what Israel is going to do. I'm asking you what they have told you they are going to do or not do.
So I think you're. I shouldn't presume. I'll answer the question, but I think
for my voice.
That's okay. I know there was an important Buffalo Bills game last night that I assume you were.
You know what? I thought I said that we were not going to talk about.
I apologize for bringing it up. Fair.
It's not a good evening.
Fair point. So look, I'll let Israel speak to its own military operations. We have been engaged in conversations with them about those operations, but the timing, purpose, tempo of those, I'll let them speak to.
So they haven't told you anything about what's going on?
They have been. We have been in conversations. They have been informing us about a number of operations. I've seen reports about ground operations. We've had some conversations with them about that. They have, at this time, told us that those are limited operations focused on Hezbollah infrastructure near the border, but we're in continuous conversations with them about it.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Matt, on those conversations, and you said they told us those are limited operations. Does the U.S. have some sort of a red line or an ideal description of success for Israel's operations that it's sort of talking with Israel? Like, this comes across as like pretty open-ended. I'm trying to understand whether U.S. is trying to limit it to, I mean, how will you know that these are limited incursions? How will you ensure it doesn't sort of escalate further?
So I'm going to keep our conversations with the government of Israel private. These are conversations that we have had with them going back months, where we have been clear about what we believe is the best way to ensure that Israeli citizens can return to their homes and that the citizens of Lebanon can return to their homes. As I said at the top, there are a few things that are true here. Number one, Israel has a right to defend itself against Hezbollah. If you look at how this conflict across Israel's northern border started, it was Hezbollah that started launching attacks on Israel on October 8th, and those attacks continued and have continued and are continuing. If you look at what the acting leader of Hezbollah said just today, it's that their attacks on Israel will continue. So Israel has a right to defend itself against those attacks. So that includes in targeting terrorist infrastructure inside Lebanon. At the same time, we want to ultimately see a diplomatic resolution to this conflict, one that allows citizens on both sides of the border to return to their homes.
So it's interesting that now you're saying we want to ultimately see a diplomatic resolution to this, as opposed to last week when United States and France called for a ceasefire in Lebanon. So the United States at this point is no longer calling for a ceasefire in Lebanon?
Not at all. You heard the president say today that we continue to support a ceasefire. We do, of course, continue to support a ceasefire. Hold on, let me finish. We, of course, continue to support a ceasefire. But I think sometimes people either misinterpret or have their own version of what a ceasefire is. A ceasefire is not one side in a conflict unilaterally putting down its arms and stopping the conflict. It is an agreement for both sides to stop the conflict. And in this case, what we have proposed is a 21-day ceasefire where both sides would stop attacking the other and we would reach a diplomatic resolution. And we are going to continue to engage with our Israeli counterparts, with Lebanese counterparts, and with other countries around the world to reach that objective. But at the same time, there are a couple other things that are true as well, which is that number one, military pressure can at times enable diplomacy. Of course, military pressure can also lead to miscalculation. It can lead to unintended consequences, and we're in conversations with Israel about all of these factors now.
So is that 21-day ceasefire proposal still on the table with the Israelis?
Of course it is. You heard the president speak to it today. But that said, a ceasefire is not a call for one side unilaterally in a conflict to stop defending itself. It is a conflict. It is a call for a diplomatic resolution that both sides would agree to. And so, yes, Israel continues to engage in this conflict, but as I said a minute ago, when you heard the new acting leader of Hezbollah come out today, what he said is they are going to continue their attacks on Israel. So it's why I go back to the history of this, that this conflict started because it was Hezbollah on the day after October 7th that started launching rocket attacks across the border that have not stopped until this day. And Israel has a right to defend itself against those attacks.
Can you clarify, or can you help us understand what exactly U.S. is doing right now? If that 21-day ceasefire proposal is still on the table, like what are you exactly doing to sort of diplomatically end this? What is the secretary doing, or what is the White House doing? Because from what it sounds like from what you're saying is last week, for example, a U.S. official and I believe senior other U.S. officials have said they disagreed with Israel's argument to escalate to de-escalate. Now you don't sound like you're disagreeing with that anymore. You're talking about how.
waayahay guud ahaan wali baan tahay ka afmeerana barnaamijka Arimaha Caalamka ee Warteelka Arlaadi hamiin fayda